Hello, welcome to HITC Sport. Alright, do you ever revisit the past and realise that you were just an utter gone bean? Listen, you might think my football opinions now might be about as reliable as soggy horse placenta, but through my teenage years, back in the days when I drowned myself in Lynx Africa and made love to my pillow, I couldn't have been more desperately wrong about many things. I want to take a look at what god-awful football opinion I had about your club back then. By the way, I'm just going to choose the 20 clubs that were usually and predominantly in the top flight when I was a teenager, because, sorry lads, asking a teenage boy in Ireland what he thought of Bournemouth's chances in League 2, you'd have better luck asking me to control my bastard hard-ons. Arsenal replaced Thierry Henry with Darren Bent. Oh, this is a horrific one to start off with. Back in the summer of 2007, I thought Darren Bent was one of the most lethal centre-forwards, not just in England, but in Europe. Thierry Henry was waddling out the door to Barcelona, so I thought, why isn't Wenger just replacing him with Darren Bent from Charlton? It would be like replacing your gallbladder with a tub of ice cream. Aston Villa, they would win the league in 2010. This was ridiculous. Yeah, back in December 2009, Martin O'Neill at Aston Villa 4th in the league. Just 5 points off Chelsea at the top. I stupidly thought they had an outside chance of pulling off a shock by beating every other club to the prize. Maybe this was just a secret cry for help. Having become so bored with the monotony of Chelsea and Man United winning it every goddamn year, I just wanted something else. They just won 4 games in a row, had already beaten Chelsea at home, but they also had a fat HITC chucked up front. They had a bench made of Steve Sidwell, Curtis Davies and Nigel Reo-Coker, which is like building a house made of straw. They had a good season and finished 6th, but Premier League champions. You'd swear my brain had been diluted with milk. Christ, it's a wonder I also didn't think the world was flat. Birmingham, Stark, Johnson and Danford, England. Oh Christ, as a teenager I was borderline moronic. No wonder I became a YouTuber. Clearly I was born with a mashed potato lodged in my skull. I genuinely believed England should have been starting the 2010 World Cup with Roger Johnson and Scott Dan in their defence. Okay, hear me out, alright? I'll try my best to justify this. Although, it's like justifying spending money on an Ollie Murs album, which I also did. Christ, how was I not flayed in the street? No wonder my mother banished me to England. Alright, by December 2009, Birmingham were 7th in the league, having kept 9 clean sheets and only conceded 17 goals in 20 games. It was officially the best defence in the league. And in my head, England had already trialled and failed with big name centre halves in the past, so why not just go with a proven, rock solid defensive partnership who already know each other's strengths inside and out? Actually, I'm almost nearly convincing myself all over again. No, stop it! This is like dangling a needle in the face of a crack addict. Be gone with these awful thoughts! Blackburn David Bentley is the next Beckham. Alright lads, it's very easy for me to sit here in this chair and laugh at the British media for building up David Bentley as the next David Beckham. Sure, they share the same first name, we're both born without pace, and probably toss themselves off their own reflection. But that is where the comparisons end. Me though, as a naive little schoolboy, yeah, when I saw Bentley blasting home free kicks at Ewood Park, netting hat-tricks against Man United, earning a £50 million move to Spurs, I'll admit it, I thought this guy was England's next great hope. I thought within 10 years he'd be England captain, opening a global brand in America, and Indian actresses would soon be cast in Bend It Like Bentley. And yet no, a distinct lack of appetite for the game. Saw this guy rot on the Spurs bench, get punted out on loan before retiring at the age of 30. With every fibre of my being, I shouldn't have believed the hype. I should have just written him off as another Flash Jermaine Pennant, because that's what he was. Bolton, Matthew Taylor is England's standard. Listen, when you're a kid, you sort of rate players by the quality of their strikes. So children today, lads just recently spat out of the womb, are probably wondering why Andros Townsend isn't a Ballon d'Or contender. I was the same, alright? After Matthew Taylor scored from the halfway line twice, I was wondering why he wasn't getting more recognition. Because, Irish boy, apart from a couple of flukes, Taylor was complete and utter goat spunk. Chelsea, Torres is still the world's best striker. Lads, it took me an embarrassingly long time to admit that Fernando Torres was past it. I almost refused to concede. Remember when it took Torres 24 games to score a goal for Chelsea? In my head, I justified that as him finding his feet. 24 games to find your feet? What do you mean? They're at the bottom of his f***ing legs, and they're clearly not working anymore. Remember that open goal miss at Old Trafford? Teenage me justified that as him just being off balance. Off balance? He had time to complete a crossword puzzle before passing that into the net. I just point blank refused to concede that the most deadly centre forward in world football was now about as proficient in front of goal as a bowl of stale porridge. Everton, Wayne Rooney's overrated. Okay lads, this is probably an opinion still shared by a worryingly large percentage of the world, despite Wayne Rooney's achievements. But lads, people just say he didn't fulfill his potential. I stupidly thought he had no potential to begin with. Forgive me, I was very young. But yeah, weeks before Euro 2004, I was just wondering what all the fuss was about. He'd only scored 9 league goals that year. He was being outscored by Jason Newell and a fat Paul Dickoff. So the English media hyping up this kid as the next Pele, I couldn't understand it. But clearly, I was a child, alright? I didn't think 18 years was all that young. To me, he was a fully grown adult and should be compared to other fellow adults. And in my mind, I'd be picking Marcus Bent ahead of him. Clearly, I was wrong. Fulham, David Healy will win the Golden Boot. It's 13 years later and I still feel like I need a shower after these thoughts. Christ, even now I'm almost debating whether or not to pop down to the local church and beg for an exorcism, because no human being on planet Earth should ever be tipping David Healy for Golden Boots. And lads, I was old enough to know better. If you're old enough to realise you shouldn't put a cat in a microwave, you're old enough to know Healy wasn't getting a sniff. Listen, during my youth, Healy on the international stage was like Ronaldo. In a Northern Ireland shirt, he'd scored the winning goal against England, a winning hat-trick in Spain, set a record 12 goals in 10 qualifying games for Euro 2008. So when he finally got his Premier League move from Leeds to Fulham in 2007, playing under Laurie Sanchez, his former Northern Ireland boss, I assumed he'd be unleashed. Continue banging them in the top flight. Him scoring against Arsenal 50 seconds into his debut didn't quell the hype, but then he scored just 4 more in his next 52 Premier League games. How this man ever scored a hat-trick against IGCS, I'll never know. Oh, by the way lads, trying a 500k as soon as possible. If you're not subscribed and you want to slap that big red button, you'd be one of the greatest people who ever lived. Liverpool, they will win the league in 2006. Like most children, I was caught up in the hype of Istanbul. That was arguably the greatest thing I'd ever seen in my life. I remember thinking during the summer of 2005, having been swayed by the freebie signing of Bolo Zendin, I hand on heart thought they were going to take the next step and lift the Premier League title in 2006. I couldn't have been more wrong. Also, as a slightly older but still stupid teenager, I thought Robbie Keane and Fernando Torres were about to strike up the best partnership in Europe, when even a blind man living in a box off the west coast of Zambia, even he could tell you that Benitez, one of the most frustratingly rigid managers of all time, was never going to be able to stick 2 number 9s up front together. Man City, Willo Flood will be an Irish legend. Remember Willo Flood? Anyone? He was Ireland's next big hope. I remember him as a 19-year-old midfielder, scoring for City in a 1-1 draw at Norwich in November 2004. Never mind me, the next day, half the school thought we found the perfect replacement for Roy Keane. His career since? Cardiff City, Celtic, Middlesbrough, Dundee, Aberdeen and Dunfermline Athletic, only ever chipping in with 10 more career goals ever since. Man United, Quaresma is better than Ronaldo. This is arguably the worst opinion I've ever had on anything. And I used to think Kerry Katona was an attractive woman. And you know what lads, it's not like I even thought this was a controversial take. The worst thing is I was 100% certain I was right. I can remember telling people in school that I thought Ricardo Quaresma was a better footballer than Cristiano Ronaldo. Christ, if any of the teachers had overheard that, they'd probably have kept me back a year in school and probably removed anything sharp from the f***ing canteen. The timing of these words, it was so poor, I can even now feel a little bit of vomit in my throat. Yes, Quaresma had been regularly sentencing Portuguese defenders to death, almost forcing them to contemplate retirement each and every week out at FC Porto. But just 1 year later, Ronaldo had smacked home 42 goals in a year, won a Champions League, being crowned the world's best player, while Quaresma was struggling to get off the Chelsea bench, playing about as much for them as a teenage Scott Sinclair. You can imagine what my schoolmates thought. Middlesbrough, Steve McLaren is a good manager. When Steve McLaren was appointed England manager in 2006, I didn't spend the afternoon laughing at the telly. I just thought, yeah, seems about right. He'd won a trophy with Middlesbrough, hauled them to Europa League final, was a treble-winning assistant at Man United. I thought he was the best English coach in the country. Christ, how wrong I was. He couldn't motivate Rebel Wilson to eat a burger. Newcastle, Shay Given should win Ballon d'Or. Yeah, I'll hold my hands up. I remember wondering why on earth Shay Given wasn't up for a Ballon d'Or. Put it down to childlike innocence. Like when you put teeth under your pillow or wonder when your dad's coming back from the shops. But I thought, this guy is playing behind the defence virtually made of cardboard, having to deal with a backline of Boomsong and Bramble every week, and he's not conceding 10 goals a game. Get this man a Ballon d'Or. Stoke, Rory DELAPA should play for Ireland. Yeah, back in 2008, I was the one advocating that Rory DELAPA should be playing for Ireland. Purely for being able to chuck a throw in like a goddamn javelin. I thought that alone should have got him back in an Irish shirt after a 5-year absence. Thank Christ this never happened, because paying to watch a grown man spend the afternoon throwing the ball at Kevin Doyle's head, I'd rather watch Boris Johnson pick his toenails for the night. Southampton, the Shearer Beattie swap. All out. The further we go back, and the younger I get, the more insane are my opinions. In my defense, back in the summer of 2004, I was a child. You can't hold these against me. I used to think cows could talk when nobody was watching, for Christ's sake. That is the level of brain we're dealing with. But still, the summer of 2004, the media were talking about a potential swap deal. James Beattie to Newcastle, Alan Shearer to Southampton. In my infantile head, I thought this was good news, not for Beattie and his agent, but for Newcastle. Swapping out the Premier League's greatest ever goal scorer for James Beattie. Portsmouth, Pompey will finish 5th. One of my worst calls. Laughable. When Portsmouth ended the 07-08 season with an FA Cup win, I foolishly thought they now had a squad to compete in the Premier League's top 5 and maybe challenge for Champions League. David James, Sol Campbell, Glenn Johnson, Nico Cranker, Jermaine Defoe, with the added summer signings of Peter Crouch. I did not foresee Harry Redknapp quitting the club, dragging half the squad with him to Spurs, and Pompey stumbling to 14th in the league before being relegated within a year. Wow, did I get this one wrong. Tottenham, Gareth Bale is overrated. Let's get this right. Gareth Bale is one of the best British footballers of the 21st century. What he's achieved at Real Madrid is simply incredible. And yeah, I was cautious about buying into the hype. I stupidly thought he was just living off that one hat-trick against Inter Milan. The media had gone into overdrive based on a decent 45 minutes in the San Siro. And he'd still lost the game. Never mind 4 Champions League wins. I thought this guy was the Welsh Stuart Downing. Christ, did I get that one wrong. Wigan, Paul Jewell should manage Ireland. Yes lads, I'll admit it. I didn't just want Paul Jewell to manage my country. I would have torn off my nipples to make this happen. Back in 2007, in my eyes, this guy was the original Eddie Howe. He kept Wigan, tiny little Wigan, up for 2 years in a row. Reached the cup final. I thought he was one of the best coaches in England. Thank Christ we didn't hire him, because since then, 7 wins in 58 games as Derby boss, helping Ipswich to a 7-1 loss at Peterborough, spending 6 days as Tony Pulis' number 2, chuck in a midlife crisis nearly made us vomit through the eyes, and to think I wanted him as manager of my country. Nowadays, I'd rather chuck a microwave in the dugout than Paul Jewell. West Brom, Jeff Horsfield is good. People talk about one-season wonders. How about a one-month wonder? Whenever a bang-average footballer starts the season on fire, while most people are stuffing him in their fantasy league team, I refer to something that I've coined the Jeff Horsfield syndrome. A journeyman workhorse striker, he scored a brace in both of West Brom's first 2 home games of the 05-06 season, and they were the last goals he'd ever score for the club. I was duped by this man once. Never again. West Ham, Anton Ferdinand is going to emulate Rio. Do I really have to revisit this one? Oh, clearly you can tell by now I was a stupid child. Anton Ferdinand, after his debut Premier League season in 2005, where he reached an FA Cup final, not only did I think that he'd go on to play for England, I thought he'd be every inch as good as his brother. When in reality, the only way Anton was ever going to be able to outplay his brother would be if he cut off his legs in his sleep. Anyway, that's the end of it, lads. Let me know, what were your terrible opinions you had when you were young that you've changed your mind about? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and as always, I'll talk to you in a while.